Hey, welcome to my drum video. I've got a lot of special surprises for you. I'm going to get into like grooves, and you can get up close and personal with Matt Sorum, and I'm going to show you some techniques that I've learned over the years, different rudiments. I'm going to do a couple solos. I've got some special guests. I'm going to play a bunch of songs that I've written specially for the video with some friends of mine, and it's going to be a really cool time, so stick around and check it out. This first song I'm going to play is called Jalapeno Girl, and it's with my friends Lanny Cordola on guitar, Chuck Wright on bass. It starts out with a slow Latin side stick sort of groove, and it goes into kind of a rock samba vibe at the end. So check it out.
I'm probably one of the best drummers I've ever actually heard or seen in my, short little life so far.
Matt is a great drummer. He's the best.
Yeah, right now I'd like to introduce my drum tech. His name's Mike Fasano, and he's worked for me in the studio with Guns N' Roses as well as other bands like Green Day, Rancid, and Fleetwood Mac. Mike, how are you doing today?
I'm good.
All right. Okay, so today we're going to talk about snare drums in the studio and why I have so many.
Exactly.
Tuning and mic placement. So Mike, tell us a little bit about snare drums and why we use so many different snare drums.
Depending on the songs, via a quick tempo song, a medium tempo song, or a ballad, a slower song, use different snare drums. Different snare drums are like the spice in the drum kit.
And it really helps the song settle. I mean, the backbeat is very important.
Totally.
So it's like, on Use Your Illusions, for instance, I use 25 different snare drums.
Right.
For an up-tempo song, I might use a piccolo.
Sure.
For maybe a mid-tempo rocker, I might use a medium-sized shell, maybe a Black Beauty,
Sure.
or a brass drum.
Sure.
And for a ballad, maybe a deep, like 8x14
Sure.
for a ballad, wood.
For example, Big Red is in the house, which was on
That's
Use
November
Your-
Rain was
yeah.
on Don't Cry, and all the ballads on Use Your Illusions.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
it's a deeper shell drum.
Yeah, and it's wood. It's a birch drum.
Right.
And it sounds really nice. It fit the songs.
I mean, I have a lot of snare drums.
Yeah.
But for somebody that can afford this many snare drums, if they're going to go into the studio, I mean, what would be something that might be able to cover the spectrum of the backbeat?
It's pretty basic. I mean, it's really great that you have all these, but really, you can get away with, a guy could have 3 snare drums. For example, a quicker song, punk rock song, really up-tempo song.
Or maybe like a ska thing.
Sure,
or
ska.
funk.
Yeah, a piccolo drum, which could be wood or brass. This is a wood drum.
Maybe like 3 or 4 inches in depth.
Which is a piccolo, yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Or even smaller.
Or even smaller.
Now they're making 10, 12s, 13.
Yeah, with a little bit more depth shell to give it a little bit more body. For something like a mid-tempo song, I would go with a mid-sized drum, which is a 5 to 6.5 inch drum, which would be brass or steel or maple. This is a 5-inch drum. This is a 6.5-inch drum.
Right.
For a mid-tempo song. And as we were talking about ballads and stuff, you can go with a larger drum.
Right, like maybe 8 inches
Sure,
in depth.
an 8-inch drum,
7.
which could be also a wood drum or a brass drum. Here, just so it fits the song.
Well, great, yeah. So, what about tuning?
Tuning.
Like a snare drum, for instance. How do I get the great snare drum sound on the record?
Well, basically, the most important thing to know about tuning is when you put your drum head on, is to finger tighten all your lugs. This is very basic. Make sure they're finger tight. So when you start to tune, you have a reference. So
The head's on, they're nice and flat and consistent.
Exactly. So you're not pulling one side of the drum by just tuning these lugs down, causing this to be loose and it's lopsided. Therefore, this way, if they're all finger tight, they're all level. That's the most important thing. And what you do to one side of the drum, you want to do to the other side of the drum.
Yeah, not out of, context.
Not going from here to here around the drum because you're going to seat your head down.
Right. Or
improperly.
do 20 turns here and 2 here. You
Exactly.
want to keep it consistent and even.
Yeah, and I like to do an opposite lug tuning, which I would go from this lug to this lug, back over to this lug, back over to this lug. It's about a turn or 2 turns on each lug, right? And it seats the head down evenly.
Mm-hmm.
It brings it all the way down, and it snugs it up. As it gets closer and I can feel the tension tighter, I start to tap to listen to the tone of what's happening and where the head is actually at.
Right, and then when you're done with it, you got it a lot tighter. Then you work,
Right.
with a
You
tighter
bring it
stuff.
up with the kit, and that's the same thing that's going to happen. You're going to remember where you're at. You're going to tap and listen to a tone, and if it needs to be brought up a little bit here, you bring it up here. You have to listen to the tone of the drum, and basically, it's a feel thing too. If you feel one lug really loose, it doesn't necessarily mean it's wrong, but it's make sure it's sounding consistent. That's the most important thing.
Okay. So as far as mic placement, we want to keep the mic, if you're in the studio, obviously we're in a pretty nice studio here. We have some really nice mics. But mic placement is usually about 1 inch off the skin and fairly close to the drum. I mean, everyone has their preference, and different engineers are going to do different things. But as a drummer, for myself, I'm always aware of where the mics are. So I always kind of make sure the mic's, centered towards the middle of the drum and about 1 inch off.
Exactly.
And as far as like a drummer that might want to do some home recording or something, this mic right here is really good for an inexpensive mic. It's about around $100. It's a Shure SM57, and this mic works great on everything. I mean, snares, toms, kick drums sometimes. I mean, you can spend a little bit more money and get a good kick drum mic, and spend a little bit more money on overheads. Different brands. There's a lot of good ones out there. That's where you need to spend your money, because that is the stereo spectrum of the kit.
Exactly. Right.
And that's basically it, I think.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for having me.
All right, thanks, Mike.
All right.
All right, buddy.
All right.
This next one is another tune I put together with my friends Lanny and Chuck. This one's kind of a funky one, and it's called Funky Sushi. And pay attention to the bass and drums interaction on this song. It's real important that you play real tight with the bass player on funk style music. Coming at you. One of the most important things to me is consistency and time in drumming. You know, there's a reason that I got the Cult gig and Guns is because I'm a meat and potatoes drummer. And meat and potatoes meaning that the most important thing is keeping a good groove. You could have all the fills in the world, but that's not going to get you a gig in a band. So what I want to talk about a little bit is consistency in the backbeat, and then a little later on I'm going to show you, how to set up a groove and building a beat. So what I think about when I go in the studio or, when I'm playing live or whatever, I always try to, be aware of how I'm hitting the drums, even though now it's more natural to me. But if you're working on that, just listen to yourself and check out the way you're playing the backbeat and the kick drum and the rest of the kit as well. But most importantly, the backbeat. So I'm just going to show you a little example of just how I hit the snare drum consistently every time. Maybe the same spot of the drum, in the middle, preferably. But, you can add ghost notes in the middle and everything like that, but just be aware of the backbeat. Next thing I like to talk about is time. It's very important, probably one of the most important things in drumming. So try to set yourself up with a quarter note click, and now I'm going to show you how to build a beat around that quarter note click. So I'm going to count it off. I'm going to play half time, double time, straight time. Different hats open, closed, a little bit of ride cymbal. But the whole time, it's going against that quarter note click. The whole time, that was just 1, 2, 3, 4. Double time, half time, straight time. That's playing against the quarter note. This next one's called Rasta Herring, once again with my friends Lanny and Chuck. This one's sort of a ska, reggae type feel. And pay attention to the kick drum on this. It's constantly keeping that quarter note pulse. And it's the anchor of the song. This next thing I'm going to show you is something I like to do a lot, is use my left hand. I call it left hand free while I'm keeping a groove. And another thing I've been working on that I'm going to show you is by placing your heel on the hi-hat foot, you can go into a double bass drum feel, left foot first with singles, and keep time with your hi-hat and also use your left hand free to go up and play your hat or hit a tom. Or it just helps me feel like I'm getting around over here, and it can create a lot of different textures and colors and things like that. So here it is. Let me show you a little example. This next one's called Muddy Spaghetti. Starts out with a slow blues and kicks into an up-tempo shuffle. And watch out and listen for the double bass drum underneath the rock shuffle on the end. Right now, I'd like to introduce a special, close, personal friend of mine, Mr. Pat Torpy.
Hey everybody, how's it going?
All right.
Glad to be here. And why am I here, Matt?
I'm not really sure.
Well, I'll tell you why.
Yeah. Because we're comrades in arms.
Yeah, drummer buddies. Matt and I have been friends for a long time. And long time ago, back in 19, I think, well, I didn't want to say.
Yeah,
Yeah, the early 80s.
Yeah.
Matt and I were playing around Los Angeles. We got to know each other because we were in different bands at the same time together, playing some gigs. And I kind of noticed Matt because I thought, wow, this guy's really good. I mean, there's a lot of drummers around, but you always can kind of tell when someone kind of has the stuff to kind of make a career out of it. And that's what I thought about Matt. And just over the years,
Well, I used to
kept in
replace
touch.
you when you go on to bigger and better gigs. I was always the guy to take, Pat's spot, after he would go play with Robert Plant, or, whoever, Mr. Big. I would fill the drum stool. And we both auditioned for David Lee Roth,
that's right.
the gig that Greg Bissonette got.
That was the David Lee Roth gig was the gig that inspired us to maybe pick up maybe a double bass drum pedal so we could start working on that because I think both of us didn't play
That's right, yeah.
double bass drums at the time. So
Well, when we did the audition, I remember going into SIR, and there was the studio set was already set up.
Right.
And it was like a rental drum kit, and it was double bass drum.
Right.
And I remember Steve Vai being there, and Billy Sheehan sitting on the couch, and walking in, and I picked up the other bass drum and moved it. And Steve Vai went, "What are you doing?"
hey,
And I said, "Well, I don't play double bass drum."
you can't do that.
Yeah, I got like the merit right there.
Yeah.
He's out of here. So
Yeah.
after that, I mean, I lost that gig, and I heard that Greg got it, and he was this great double bass drum player. I went out and got a double pedal. I think when we were both, playing in LA around clubs, and at one point I was in about 6 different bands. I don't know about you, but I had my drums in the back of my V-dub
Right.
all the time, moving them around in some
right.
rehearsal. So I think a little bit of what we're trying to say, if you want to get happening as a drummer, I think it's real important to play with other musicians as much as possible, because I mean, if you're just in your bedroom soloing all day long, that's cool. But get in and play with some other players. Even if you can just get a bass player or a guitar player. I mean, my first band, I couldn't find a bass player, so I had a guitar player. But at least it was somebody to play with.
Yeah, exactly.
And we got into playing songs, and that took me to the next level. And then I got out and met other people, and more people, and more people, and eventually, yes, I did move to Hollywood. Where you kind of had to be at the time.
I did too.
Yeah. And, you trudged around to the clubs, and then there was A&R people around checking you out and all that. I mean, it was just a gradual stepping up each time. And you would get in a better band. And then that band, like when I was in the Cult, because I was in the Cult, Guns N' Roses guys saw me play with the Cult. So that made my move from the Cult to Guns. Right. That's a pretty big step, but still I was already in a pretty successful band. But then it just kind of went down from there, It was like you said, Jeff Paris. Someone had heard me on that record.
Right.
So they hired me for the next gig, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, and that's how it works.
Yeah.
That's how it works for everybody. Just probably the best tip I could give anybody is just never give up. That's my best thing is I just don't give up. Same with you. You just never give up.
And I think that Pat and myself saw a lot of musicians fall out.
Yeah.
We stuck in there, and I was in my mid-20s before I got a real decent gig.
Sure.
And, there was times when I was going, oh, man, this is never going to happen for me.
Yeah.
But, right when I was sleeping on somebody's couch and, really toughing it and still going, I'm going to play drums, I'm going to play drums, I'm going to play drums, is when I got called to audition for the Cult. Right when I was about ready to just, I don't know, move to a lake in Michigan and work in a bait house.
Yeah, really. It's always darkest before the dawn.
Yeah, it
as a
is.
cliche.
So, if you want to play music and it's in your heart and soul to do it, that's what you have to do, and just stick with it.
I would describe Matt Sorum as the kind of drummer that I really like, and that's someone who's really solid and who plays with a lot of heart and soul. Matt's not a technical player in the sense of that he's worked out every little part. He plays off the cuff, and it comes from inside, and he's got a lot of different influences. He plays a lot of different styles, and he works a lot of things in, but he still brings all that into a real solid approach. I think he was the anchor behind Guns N' Roses. He kind of kept the whole thing together. And that's the kind of drummer that I really enjoy. Somebody who plays, like I just said, with a lot of heart and soul. It's not something that's manufactured. It comes from inside. And that's why I like Matt as a drummer, and that's the kind of drummers I really love.
This next thing I'm going to show you is a drum fill I'm asked a lot about. It's probably one of my more famous opening drum fills. I played it on a song called You Could Be Mine off Use Your Illusions 2. And I'm going to show you how I do it quickly, and then I'm going to slow it down for you so you can learn it, and then speed it up at your pace. So it goes something like this. So that was up to speed. Now I'm going to play it slowly, and if you pay attention, it leads with the right hand, starts on the toms, 2 beats on the kick drum, then to the snare, twice through like that, and then down the toms to the pang cymbal on the 4. Now I'll play it back to speed, and I'll go into the beat that it drops into. And that was basically the intro to You Could Be Mine. A lot of things I like to think about when I'm coming into a real powerful rock and roll song is how to come up with a powerful intro to the song. So this next thing a lot of people ask me about is a drum fill that I played at the beginning of a song called 6 Feet Under off the Neurotic Outsiders record. And its basic form is simple, but when you put the elements together, it's very powerful. So I'm going to show you the drum fill, and then I'm going to slow it down for you. And that drum fill, it combines technique that's just real simple, a flam on the snare drum, single stroke rolls on the kick, and it ends with a nice single stroke roll to a cymbal grab. So I'm going to slow it down for you now. Very simple. So speed it up again and hit it a little harder, and it comes off sounding something like this. There you have it, the intro drum fill off 6 Feet Under. This next fill I'm going to show you is off a song called Soma City Ward, off the Slash's Snake Pit record, It's 5 O'Clock Somewhere. And it utilizes the triplet, and in a very simple form, I do a crossover, and once again, it's fast and powerful for the intro to the song. So I'm going to play it fast for you, and then I'll slow it down. If you slow that down, it sounds something like this. And you can see where I do the crossover. So I'll show it to you just a little bit slower. Okay, now I'll pick it up again. There you have it, the intro drum fill to Soma City Ward. Now I'd like to talk a little bit about rudiments in the drum kit. Early on when I started playing drums, I learned a lot from listening to records, and I was pretty much self-taught and played with friends in the garage and whatnot. And as I got to playing drums, I learned that there was a lot of rudiments in songs that I really liked. Paradiddles, triplets, and rudiments like that. So I started getting interested in rudiments and applying them to the drum kit. By working different ways around the kit with the same rudiment, I was able to create a lot of different sounds. So now I'm going to show you how I play the paradiddle on the drum kit, and I'll slow it down for you so you can see what's happening. So all that is a basic paradiddle. But when you get it going and get it going fast, it sounds really cool. So I'm going to show you what's happening with that. And all it is, like what I said again, is a paradiddle: left, right, left, left, right, left, right, right. Now when you add the kick drum, it sounds much more powerful, and every time I lead with my right hand to the accent, I'm going to kick my bass drum. Let me slow that down a little bit more. And then once again, you speed it up, and you can get a really cool thing happening. All it is a paradiddle. Right now, I'm going to introduce a couple of friends of mine, Slash and Duff, and this next segment, we're going to develop a song right here on video for the first time, and I just wanted to show everybody how we work together in the studio and in rehearsal to come up with and develop a song. So here it is.
Dynamic, just accent on the F.
Okay, do it. Okay, yeah.
The part will stick out more.
It'll be the A part, chorus. Chorus a couple times.
You didn't like that Tom when we started with that Tom thing?
No, let's start with that. That was powerful.
Just the end. Bit.
Yeah,
Okay.
in.
And then we go to the verse for 2 or 3?
3.
3.
Chorus again, and then
Solo?
4 for solo.
Yeah.
And then a chorus again, and then drop it down.
Drop it down.
And do whatever
To
you
the
want.
verse riff.
Right. Yeah.
So when you drop down, I'll just go to an E. You're gonna go.
Yeah, that
half-
sounded better.
Yeah!
That sounded cool when you were just.
That rocks!
such a physically dynamic drummer that all his whole body is so into it that he's entertaining to watch as well as listen to him play. It's just a given.
That's right. As a bass player, I mean, as soon as Matt joined the band, he made me improve immediately. And anything that I've done with him, like Neurotic Outsiders playing guitar, he made me a better guitar player just because his chops are so precise. And you don't have to like wait for him to fall into something.
That's one of the greatest drummers I've ever actually seen, let alone played with. Simple as that. That's how he ended up with, you know when we first met, because we saw him on stage one night playing with another band.
We saw him at the amphitheater playing with the Cult. And me and Slash
why
went.
can't we get a drummer like that?
We did.
Hey, thanks for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it. And just remember, this is my interpretation of how to play the drums, and everybody does it differently. So if I could have, taught you something on this video, one little thing, that's important. So take in from all kinds of drummers, listen to a lot of different styles of music, and good luck, and get out there and play. All right, man. See you.